This is an HR program on demand, a living seed capsule of work life and workplace coming live from a rooftop in Stockholm, Sweden. It's me, Anne-Marie, and
me, Katarina Berg.
A vodcast, if you like, on HR, straight across the counter. Sponsored by HR The Real Deal, HR by HR for HR. Happy New Year!
Happy New Year!
It's been a while.
It's been a month, right? Some holidays and yeah.
Yeah, I missed
but
you.
But it's still snowing.
I missed you.
Yeah, I missed you too.
Yeah, I'm here.
Yeah.
I missed you. And yes, we closed the year and we started a new one. And I'm so curious, Katarina, to hear your predictions about 2024. I know you recently posted on the blog a very interesting blog on a text on the predictions, and you use the bridge
metaphor.
Yeah. Why did you do that?
One, I think picture language comes easy to me. I think that is how I envision things, and I also think that is how I speak, and I think that's how I sometimes lose people too if you're not a person that speaks or receives messages well. So metaphors and bridges is something also. Personally, I love bridges, as you know.
I know.
I can travel a long distance to go and see a beautiful bridge. But it also reminds you of the things that I think the metaphor helps with is. It has a beginning, right? You start in one end and then you sometimes need people or an organization to meet you halfway. And if they're not ready to do that, it's going to be a long journey. Mm-hmm. And then obviously it has to be sturdy. But it's something that you build, and you build it most of the times from two ends. And hopefully it kind of ends up in something that is a good constructive and also a solid foundation, right?
Yeah.
And it connects.
It does.
It connects in so many ways. So I use that metaphor this year, and I don't have a crystal ball like nobody else, but there are a couple of things that are trending, no matter if it's at Spotify or what I at least see or predict on the outside. And I think if you just go over the bigger trends, I think the AI transformation for the organizations that hasn't started yet, it's time.
Yeah.
And we talked about this in the summit too, right? I mean, you don't want that wave to hit you in your face. You want to ride that wave. And I'm very fortunate where I am. Obviously, generative AI and LLMs and all that, yes, is part of our
offerings,
and the platform itself.
Yeah.
So obviously, then I also have a team that has come quite far on that journey, but obviously not at the end. And we will see a lot of things developing, and a couple of things also, I think, not necessarily showing up or turning up the way that we do. But it's a transformation for sure. Mm-hmm. And then it's all the other things that are connected to that with technology. But I think the most important part for, I think, almost every company is to kind of rebuild the trust within your organization. And is that the trust that we usually talk about? Is it the trust that actually also, we always say when trust goes up, speed goes up, like productivity, efficiency, everything. And when trust goes down, it also, the productivity and efficiency goes down. It's about that, yes, but it was a difficult year last year. We saw in all types of industries and businesses in all pockets of the world, inflation and recession and the macroeconomics, and also awakening for a lot of organizations, including ourselves. So with that comes usually sunsetting things, projects, offerings,
right sizing in a sense,
and then right sizing also on your staff, and that is not easy, should never be easy, should not be taken lightly. And even if you do it in a good way, and receiver always decide if that was a good way, but if you do it in a good and also considerate way that you could do, and as with much dignity and compassion, and first and foremost actually think about the third party and not necessarily the people that are able to stay. It leaves the people that are staying with a couple of question marks. So I think you need to rebuild that trust. And I think you need to acknowledge that, but you can't dwell on that. So it's kind of an important thing. And I think that is one of the things that I think most organization is facing now in January. And if they succeed, it might not even be an issue in February.
Exactly.
Right. So I think that is important.
Yeah, thank you. Do you think that the right sizing will continue into this year?
We have already seen that, and we have
Yeah.
seen that from a couple of large and also very successful companies. But I don't think we're going to see it the same way that we saw last year and the year before. I hope so. I believe so. But you tell me. Your guess is as good as mine. But for everybody in a workplace, I hope most companies got it right. Then iterations, or hey, there will always be changes, but when at least I talk about reduction in force, it's usually when a lot of people have to leave for the same reason at the same time, which is like 100% pure business case. You don't usually talk about like things that is connected with performance, or you all of a sudden in or voluntary or like forced leave, or like that is just something else. So I think my prediction that the trust bridge is something that you have to tend to. Then I think leadership is always on the agenda, and that leadership bridge, for me, I think we will see a bit more pragmatic. I think when we talk about diversity, inclusion, and belonging, if I put those two bridges together, I think instead of doing a lot of programming and instead of doing the things that we have been doing, I would hate to see that equity, diversity, inclusion takes 500 steps backwards. That would not be good for anybody. And those are a couple of micro trends and a lot of discussions in media, but also articles and on X. But if we take that aside and look at it, what the purpose always been, and what the struggle should be, and what actually the upsides are, I think if we can include that, be a bit more in the structure.
What does that mean, being in the structure?
So you do have, most companies I think have invested a lot in their leadership. And instead of having like COEs, like a center of excellence, and HR, like HR does this, or HR will make sense that we have, the diverse hires in place, or HR will make sure that we have our ERGs in place. Yeah, HR are the experts, but if you can in the structure make sure, but also very clear, set up expectations in your leadership and your leadership teams, and that is part of a muscle that they flex. First train, of course, and then flex, and that it's part of the muscle memory. All of a sudden, you have something that is more structural, right? If you can also be a bit pragmatic and don't do tokenism, because I think when we get scared, when we are afraid, where there's a lot of activism, this is where you go, oh my God, we need to do this, and we need to have these people, and the team needs to be big, and it needs to be central, and it needs to be up in the hierarchy if you believe in hierarchies. But if you can have that like in every part of the organization, and if that could be something that you do, that you think about. So that is structure for me. That pragmatism is this, that, hey, so you take 2 steps ahead and 1 back, and it's not about that sprint. I know that we all think it goes too slowly. But again, what has set us back, I think, and I think why we see a reaction in the wrong kind of direction, it is because I think it was a lot of to show off, a lot of tokenism. So if we are a bit more pragmatic about it, and have the people that actually has the knowledge to run with these things and support and educate us, I think that's going to be much more and show up much more in the inclusion. So it's about building that safety again, and having that trust, but actually depend much more on your leadership and management.
Yeah, and I think you say so many good things there, Katarina, but I also think, time is such a vital part of making change happen. So even if we feel that it's taking time in diversity, equity, and inclusion, it is actually part of the journey. And just to keep that persistency no, that's not the word. Persistence. Are you persistent?
Yeah.
This is where English becomes tricky. But okay, let me rephrase.
Yeah.
If you keep that persistent and you keep driving it forward, change will come. But you also need to be a bit patient, right?
I think so, and you also have to define what success looks like.
Yeah.
And if you want it to be that glossy magazine with no content and no
Right.
heart and no soul, or if you want it to be maybe a quite boring magazine, but with a lot of really nice articles that moves the needle.
Yeah.
And I think what we have seen the last couple of years, not on all fronts and not all the work, and I'm proud of a lot of things that we have done at this company, but now I'm talking about the predictions, right?
Right.
Looking outwards a bit, but it has been a lot of things that to show or to kind of be reactive rather than proactive and going on defense, but pretending that like, hey, we're investing in this and we're doing this. And I don't think also it could be one person that carries that or one function that does that. You either do it for all the right reasons, and we all know what those right reasons is. Like it actually should be part of your bottom line. It should be part of who you are. You should do it for innovation. You should do it for whatever that makes sense for your business. But I think we need to kind of scale back in that sense that we have the right people doing it, and not necessarily only have it as passion like projects and back to that horrific word of tokenism.
Yeah, let's just conclude. You should do it because it's the right thing to do,
Yes,
period.
yeah, and be a bit smarter about it.
True.
And it's not about how many people. And it's, again, I think the thing that usually people don't talk about is this: just because you're passionate about it doesn't mean that you are professional within it. Yeah.
Good. So I have to ask you a question then that ties to AI. Because obviously a game changer in so many areas. What are your predictions on skills given AI?
I see two things. One thing that I'm not necessarily happy with is that we now have a new vehicle technology that makes a lot of things that we've been doing for 30, 20, 10, 5 years, which is, okay, how do you match all the experience you have, your CV, more or less, right, with openings and new roles or opportunities? How do you do that without falling into the trap of, I know you, therefore I give you the promotion, or I accept being your mentor or something like that? How do we democratize that? How do we also match that in a smarter way using maybe technology? And I think what I see now, or I saw in the end of the year, was some of the new cooler tools going back to how do we build that tree of skills or experience? The same way that we did manually, and why it then dies. And then we did it in a new technology way, and then it died because it was too much effort and you had to be constantly there to put in kind of. And I think we all are waiting for that almost pre-populated kind of technology. Haven't seen it yet. And I see some of the cool tools almost go into a very traditional way. So that is one prediction I have, which is not necessarily the happy kind of sprightly.
It's Emperor's new clothes?
Not necessarily. It's Emperor's very old clothes.
Very old, exactly. Yeah.
Right. But on the other side, I have very much. I'm excited to see if we can also break new ground here, and see what we can when we correlate a couple of systems, right? So if you can have, for instance, we work with Workday. If you can have Workday populate a couple of things into Echo, which is our internal talent marketplace, that populates something into and also where the individual can do things. So it's more light touch, but when you triage that, it's actually an updated skills kind of profile that you then can match with the new technology. So easy put. I mean, so we're looking into a couple of things, but I wasn't really thrilled about what I saw or where I see a couple of things going. It's kind of old things into a new format.
A new format.
Or
it looks glossy, right? But it's the same, right? Okay, cool. I'm freezing to death.
Yes,
it's
so
cold.
should we wrap up?
So we're wrapping up by saying that 2024.
Yeah.
It will be yet another interesting year, and I think for us at HR, it will be fun.
I think it's very much a year of mind shift.
Yeah.
So if you dare to do the mind shift, if you also have what it takes to do the change and move into that, I also think it's going to be a year of pragmatism, which I think is going to be cool. So not overdo things, trust the things that we do, and I'm very excited about 2024.
Keep it simple.
Keep it simple. Easy to say, very hard to do. And as always, when the why is clear, the how is easy.
The how is easy. Okay, great.
Okay.
So let's close it.
Yes. Stay happy, stay happy, and then stay very happy, because 2024 is going to be an excellent year.
Idem modalje.
Idem modalje.
There was a new 3 things.
Yes.
Stay happy, stay happy, stay happy.
Yeah. It's good to be safe
It's
too.
3.
Yeah. And strong and active, but happy. Choose joy.
Choose joy always.
Och föll ner på isen och låg där som en skalbagge. Och så kom det fram en farbror och sa sen efter, hur gick det? Jag tror inte jag har brutit någonting. Han bara, nej, behöver du hjälp? Jag bara, nej, jag ska försöka rulla mig upp härifrån.
Det är inte bra. Okej, vi får...
I think I will do without gloves.
No gloves?
No, I will keep my hands in here. So I can do this, because you're not going to be able to
I
do
have
that.
this. No, exactly, I cannot. Yeah.
Jag får lite utskällning även när jag liksom försöker vara omtänksam. Om jag tar av för mina vantar så kan jag göra det. Ska du göra utan vantar? It's cold.
It's cold.
Jag måste ha mössa på nu. Och brand back.
Åh herregud, det är verkligen mössa på.
Är mössan stor nog?
It's the biggest beanie ever, but it's very nice.
It is cute.
Yes. You look like a nisse, a tomte.
Tomtenisse.
How do you say tomte in... a nisse, how do you say nisse in English?
It's more of a gnome.
Elf?
No.
No, that no.
It's not an elf.
Very hard.